Welcome to my weekly market roundup, 2nd January 2021. I am Sagan Nandi, retired IT professional swing trading stocks using the Q systems and techniques that I developed. This is my email ID tradingprofitably@gmail.com. I regularly share live market and stock analysis on my website, YouTube channel, and Twitter page. You are most welcome to make use of them. Disclaimer: this demonstration is for educational purposes only. I am not an investment advisor. It is not a trade recommendation. Trading involves risk. You and only you are solely responsible for the outcome of your trades. These are the trading systems I use in my live trading for technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and industry sector rotation analysis. I'll use the same systems in today's session as well. That was the last slide of my presentation. Let's continue with the live system. Starting with a study of the global markets using Q Global running on Metastock, starting with the Australian Market Index AXJO. In past several webinars, I highlighted the bearish headwinds appearing in the daily chart and suggested not taking new long trades. That once again proved to be helpful because on Friday price came down with a bearish flow, bearish shape candle, and it also broke below the trendline support. This is why whenever the bearish headwinds come, Q traders are cautious. The weekly backdrop color is now bearish. Daily has a bearish flow. Therefore, if you applied the unambiguous checklists of the go with flow trend following trade setup, we have a go with flow short setup on Friday. However, there is a trend line support nearby. Looking at that, I will not initiate a short trade on AXJO. However, if I am holding long positions in any of the underlying stocks, I will be cautious. AXJO for short-term trading purpose has turned bearish. It was moving sideways earlier. Prior to that, it was in an uptrend, and now at the right edge, it tilted down. For short-term swing trading, now AXJO is bearish. I am not going to take any long trade in AXJO right now. What about the Japanese market index topics? Topics is not so bearish. At the right edge, the traffic light candle color is still bullish. In the weekly, as I mentioned in previous webinar also, we have candles with upper tail as well as lower tail that is showing indecision, and I will avoid taking new trades in topics now. Next, we study the Chinese market index CSI 300. In the last webinar, I mentioned that it was the strongest of the global markets except India market, and that strength continued in the last several days. It is bullish in the daily chart as well as in the weekly chart, already at the upper boundary level, so it is a bit extended, but it is certainly bullish. AXJO flow color turned bearish. Topics Japan market index still bullish traffic light color, but the candle shape on Friday was not bullish. CSI 300 is very bullish on both weekly and daily charts. And FTSE index UK market, this is continuing to move sideways. The indecision is shown in the weekly chart also by the candles with upper tails and lower tails. It is moving sideways in the daily chart, and I will avoid taking any new trade in FTSE index. Nifty 50 India market. It was the strongest of the global markets, and that is continuing. This week we have a bullish shape candle, however the color turned neutral. You may find this situation sometimes when the price is going up but the color has changed from cyan to yellow, from bullish to neutral, the backdrop color in the weekly chart. That sometimes happens because of change in momentum, upward momentum. If we are holding a long position, we don't need to exit any position. We may be cautious and we may apply trailing stop. The weekly chart is still very bullish and the daily chart is also bullish. However, the rate of change going up has reduced. If we look at the last few days, it is still going up, but Chinese market index CSI 300 is now going up faster. Nifty 50 is still bullish, and if we look back a little bit, it is still the strongest of the global markets. Some of the global markets are moving sideways. One, that is Australian market index AXJO. For short-term trading, it is not bullish anymore, rather bearish. And China and India market are continuing their up move. Global markets are therefore mixed. For the USA market, let's use the Q Elite system and use the market ETF. Starting with the Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF DIA, it is going up in an uptrend, has trendline support in the daily chart. Traffic light candle color is also bullish. There is no Q long trade setup, however weekly and daily both are bullish. The weekly backdrop color is bullish for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. If we look at Nasdaq Etf Qqq, this is also in an uptrend, has trendline support in both weekly and daily, and here the weekly backdrop color is bullish for 4 successive weeks. DIA backdrop color was bullish for 5 successive weeks. S&P 500 ETF SPY, again it has trendline support in weekly and daily. The weekly backdrop color is bullish for 5 successive weeks. Contrast that with Russell 2000 ETF IWM. The weekly backdrop color is now bearish for 5 successive weeks. And that bearishness did not come only in this week. This week's backdrop color is also bearish, but it had been bearish for 5 weeks now. Just prior to that, it was the strongest of the market ETFs. When you look at the charts using Q weekly daily in this manner, you can start to see which one is losing momentum relative to the market. IWM is now the worst performing market ETF, shown by the relative performance tilting down. If we look back, it is still in an uptrend. Therefore, there is no short trade setup. If you have long positions in small cap stocks, you may be cautious. However, there is no short setup. It is not bearish. It is still moving in an uptrend. It doesn't have any trend line support nearby. The next trend line support is far away, whereas SPY, DIA and QQQ had trend line supports nearby. As I mentioned in successive recent webinars, unless those trend line supports are broken in SPY, DIA, QQQ, Q technique is not allowing us to take short trades. What about high growth stocks? If we look at the FFTY IBD 50 ETF, here the backdrop color is bearish for 6 weeks now, which is worse than IWM. IWM backdrop color was bearish for 5 weeks and FFTY is bearish in the weekly chart for 6 weeks in terms of backdrop color. However, if you look at the recent move, it is still in an uptrend. It has trend line support and higher low, higher high. Therefore, there is no short trade setup. If you are holding IBD 50 style stocks, you may continue to hold the long positions and be cautious if this trend line support is broken. The market ETFs are still bullish, even FFTY is bullish. What about the mega cap stocks? Let's look at the custom index, mega cap top 20. It is continuing to move in a sideways range. There is no trade setup. There are multiple trend line supports here and also here. Unless those are broken, the sideways move will continue. Earlier, the mega caps were underperforming the market. For 2 days here, 2 or 3 days here, it started outperforming the market, and then over last few days it again underperformed the market. In any case, looking at the sideways move, as I mentioned in the previous webinars, we were not going to look for buying opportunities in mega cap stocks. If we look at the individual FANG or extended FANG stocks, let's look at Amazon. In the last webinar, when price was going up, I studied the stock on this day. That was Tuesday after market close. Wednesday morning session, I had the webinar and I mentioned that looking at the trend line resistance nearby, I was not going to buy Amazon. That was very useful. The memory trend lines work very well. Right after my analysis, Amazon displayed a bearish headwind in the daily chart. It also displayed a bearish headwind in the weekly chart 1 week ago. Since then, price has dropped in the weekly, and daily also pulled back from near the trend line resistance after displaying the bearish headwind. It is continuing inside a triangle pattern. Looking at that, we could initiate a short trade at the upper edge of the triangle pattern on the day when the bearish headwind appeared, and that short-term trade would give significant profit. If this was a short-term trade, you could take it using weekly options and exit very fast. There is no swing trade setup in Amazon, and Amazon is a very strong stock, very large price stock also, more than $3,000 for one share. So even if I traded Amazon, I would book profit very quickly. Right now it is right in the middle of the two memory lines. This is a no trading area for Q technique. If we look at Microsoft, I discussed that also in the last webinar. I mentioned that it had a technical short setup based on the bearish headwind in the daily chart and price coming down from the trendline resistance in both weekly and daily charts. That was a technical short trade setup. Since then, price has come down. However, I showed in the last webinar that because Microsoft was fundamentally very strong, both in terms of valuation as well as growth, I was not going to short it. On Friday, it ended with a bullish shape candle. The backdrop color is bearish. There is no Q trade setup right now. And in any case, even if there was a short trade setup on technical charts, I was not going to short a strong fundamental stock like Microsoft. Mega caps are continuing to move sideways as seen from the custom index, mega cap top 20, and also from the individual mega cap FANG stocks. Market ETFs are bullish. Mega caps are moving sideways. IBD 50 ETF FFTY is in an uptrend. It is not possible to take short trades under such situation. Let's look at the market breadth using QH. This is very useful. 1 month to 1 day advanced decline market breadth across sectors, industries, and stocks. Whether you look at the 1 month period or the 1 day period or all the periods in between, we have to undoubtedly say that the market breadth is bullish. There is no scope of even thinking about short trades right now. If we look at the market from the finder that shows the balance between bearish and bullish signals, let's start with the weekly period. All signals are bullish. Strength signals very bullish. 95% of all strength signals are bullish. Trend continuation signals are also bullish. Only reversal signals are bearish. Overall, we have to say that the weekly finder picture is bullish. If we look at last trading days finder picture, that is the daily period, that was Thursday. Friday was a market holiday. Friday was a market holiday for Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all of you. On Thursday, all signals were bullish. Trend continuation signals bullish, reversal signals bullish, only strength signals bearish. That was because larger number of gap down moves. Larger number of stocks opened with gap down move. However, there was a strong reversal. So the overall picture is bullish, and gap down move followed by reversal is also bullish. So Friday closed in a bullish manner if you look at the technical breadth using Q Finder. Q Finder weekly, daily, both are now bullish. Let's look at the market internals. That is using the Nasdaq composite and NYSE composite. Studying the market internals, new high low, advanced decline, up down volume, and the two Q indicators, thrust and jump. Thrust and jump using these weekly charts are not showing red dots. Therefore, composite indices are not at the extreme high. New high low, very bullish. There is no sign of bearishness. Advanced decline is moving as expected. There is no bearishness in the advanced decline as well. Remember, I used this study in the Wednesday's webinar also. However, as I mentioned, this composite indices internal study is to be studied at the end of the week. So though I use this chart sometimes in the Wednesday's webinar, we have to remember that the week is not over yet on Wednesday. To get the true picture, accurate picture, we have to study these internals at the end of the week like we are doing now. And at the end of the week, using the weekly interval, up down volume is also bullish. So all the market internals are bullish. Jump thrust are not hitting the red dots yet, and the composites themselves are going up, though NYSE is moving inside a very narrow range. Therefore, NYSE is weaker than Nasdaq when we look at the composite. That is relative weakness though. Overall, both the composites are bullish. Now we completed our market study from all the possible angles. We looked at market ETFs. We even looked at, first we looked at global markets, then we looked at USA market ETFs. We looked at QH, sector, industry, stock, advanced decline breadth. We looked at Finder weekly and daily technical breadth. We looked at custom mega cap top 20 index, and then we studied the market internals using composite indices, and we didn't find any bearishness anywhere. When that is the case, we cannot start taking short trades. I have a few short trades, but those are more for hedging my long positions. Instead of using options, put options on my existing long positions, and those long positions are in very strong fundamental stocks in strong industries. Instead of buying put options on them, sometimes I short some of the weaker fundamental stocks in weaker industries. That is why I had taken a few short positions. Overall, I still am long in the market. I also have a few hedging positions on market ETFs. Few hedges using market ETFs, those are using options. So my short position more for hedging. We have to still be bullish when we look at the market objectively. Having said that, this week, I think on Tuesday, USA Senate election is coming up in one of the states, Georgia. Usually, those few seats would not be of that much interest, but it seems this year, whether Senate will be controlled by one party or the other will be decided by the outcome of these few elections, two elections that may be happening on Tuesday. Whatever be the outcome, market may move or may not move, but there is a chance that the market may move. Which direction, we don't know. Of course, the result we don't know. But knowing that a major event is coming on Tuesday, that will decide the balance of power not only in Senate, it may also decide the balance of power in all the branches, that is in Congress, Senate and White House. Knowing that such a major event is coming, I am not going to take many new trades either in the long direction or in the short direction on Monday or Tuesday. And as you know, if I am not taking new trades, I don't think it is a good idea to take new trades. I don't want to share ideas because I'm not doing anything for like running a chat room or offering trading services. If I think it is not a good idea because of major event coming up to take trades, why will I share trading ideas? I'm not going to share trading ideas. However, because I have some time, let me once again illustrate how I use the Q systems. Let's try to find some trading opportunities, and this is for illustration of the Q techniques. Let's try to find some trading opportunities from this stock list that I have. Weekly options, stocks with liquid weekly options in the USA market. This list has 284 stocks. I got this list from Mr. John in the USA. I don't disclose Q traders' identities, therefore I am not disclosing the full name. His name is Mr. John, very experienced trader, and thanks for sharing this list with me. Let's carry out a fundamental analysis first, and therefore what workflow I am using now, which Q workflow, that workflow is fundamental first. I'm going to carry out a fundamental analysis of these 284 stocks. I will locate strong fundamental stock first, then I look at the stock's technicals. If I find a trade setup, lastly I will check if the industry is also strong. If all these forces are aligned, then we'll end up with a 360-degree buying opportunity. The scorecard calculation is complete. Everything is updated. Let's look at the stocks. Firstly, I'm going to look at the stocks that are having great fundamentals both in terms of valuation as well as earnings growth in the latest quarter, that is using the 3-star button. If I don't find any trade setup, or I find some but I want to find more, then I may relax the criteria, use the single star button that will look for stocks that are also strong fundamental but in terms of either valuation or earnings growth in the last quarter. 1 star looks for either of the two, valuation or growth criteria, and 3 star looks at both valuation as well as growth criteria. Let me start with the 3 star first. Simply by clicking the 3 star, I have a list of all the stocks. Out of those 284 stocks, these stocks are having great valuation as well as earnings growth in the last quarter. For short-term trading, the last quarter result is more important, and also the current valuation. I see several of them went up on Friday, but not many of them went up by large percentage. Let's look at these few stocks that went up by at least 1%. Now I could open the charts either using TradeStation or using MetaStock Q Global. I like to use Q Global. Let's open these stocks using the default daily chart template. Why it's not opening? First stock we have here is Regeneron, REGN. As is my practice, I like to look at the stocks using daily charts first, Q default entry chart template, and if I see on the daily chart there is an entry opportunity, entry setup using Q techniques, then I look at the stock using weekly daily at a glance template. Regeneron is interesting in some ways. It displayed a bullish headwind on this day. That bullish headwind created a watermark support. So far, that support has not been broken. There are two trendline resistance nearby. If these resistances are broken, then one may look for a low risk breakout trend. The next trendline resistance is some distance away, and the stock is fundamentally very strong. If it breaks out of the nearby trendline resistances, then one may consider taking a breakout trade, and because this breakout will be low risk breakout, even I am willing to consider taking such a breakout trade. As you know, I'm not fond of breakout trades because many times the breakouts don't offer a low risk entry opportunity. However, if Regeneron goes up now, gives a breakout setup, that will be a low risk entry setup. We look at it using weekly also. So I am keeping this stock. Moving on to the next stock, MET, MetLife. This is right at the tip of the triangle. There is no clear direction. I'm not going to consider buying it. Close that. Goldman Sachs, GS, already moved up a lot above the upper boundary level. Too extended for me to take a new trade. I'm going to close it. Autodesk, ADSK, that is also close to the boundary line, upper boundary line. It's bullish but extended. I'm not going to consider buying it. Micron. Micron is also near the upper boundary. However, the upper boundary is more relevant for go with flow trend following trade setup. Micron has a breakout trade setup on Friday. It broke out of the triangle pattern. It also broke out of the watermark resistance with very high volume. So Micron is giving a breakout setup. I'm not fond of breakout setup and it is at price extreme high. However, IBD style traders may consider buying Micron. It is not only high growth stock, it is also fundamentally strong in terms of valuation and it is giving a IBD style breakout setup. It was in a strong uptrend, then moved sideways for a while, and right on Friday it broke out of the range with a bullish flow. We look at it using weekly also. Let's keep this stock. So we are left with Regeneron and Micron. Let's look at them using weekly daily. Let's go to Q Elite for that. We could use Q Global on Metastock also, but I'm using the two platforms alternatively. Micron. Micron broke out very nicely, not only in the daily chart, but also in the weekly chart. Weekly also has very high volume. Daily also has very high volume. So this is giving a breakout trade setup for those who are used to take breakout trades. And this is in a very strong fundamental stock. We later look at its industry, but before that, let's look at the other stock, Regeneron, REGN. Here we saw the two trend line resistances in daily, and weekly also has a trend line resistance. Interestingly, not only daily displayed a bullish headwind signal, weekly also displayed a bullish headwind signal. Okay, no, sorry. This is also daily. Let me change to weekly. Okay, now Regeneron is looking more interesting. It had a bullish headwind in daily, bull release on daily on Friday. There are two trendline resistance. However, weekly has a trendline support, very long term, coming from far away. Price held very nicely this week above the weekly trendline support. That is even more reason to consider a breakout trade if it can break out of the daily trendline resistances. And let's look at MU also using weekly daily. Last time by mistake I had the left side chart also using daily interval. If we look at Micron using weekly daily we already saw it was breaking out of a range, and weekly is also bullish. So it is possible to take a breakout kind of trade in Micron, and for Regeneron you may wait to take a trade if it has a breakout trade from a lower price level. Let's go back to Q Vital. I first looked at the stocks using the 3-star stringent criteria, that is great valuation plus great earnings growth. However, we don't need to buy stocks meeting both these criteria. Any one of them is good enough in Q technique. So let me now remove all these stocks and click the 1-star to see if there are stocks with either great valuation or great earnings growth, and there are plenty. Several of them went up with high percentage. Let's look at some of them. Let's look at all the stocks that went up by at least 1.5% on Friday. Again, I'm going to open them using, let's use Q Elite Trader now. On TradeStation, so I'm going to click the grid action button that copied the ticker symbols into clipboard, which I may now go to Q Elite Sonar Radar and paste there. What are these stocks? These stocks are strong fundamental also, but not on both of the criteria, valuation and growth, only one, either of them. When I paste the symbols here, I can find out the stocks that are giving Q trade setup. What are the Q trade setups? They are the ones with capital letter in the header, breakout, bounce, headwind, box, and go with flow. We can see there are two stocks with breakout as well as go with flow setup. And if we look at the top one, let me insert a blank row, WDC, it has many bullish signals. First, it has a breakout setup, it has a bullish flow, bullish pressure, very high volume. It is in a confirmed uptrend above both the yellow and white direction lines. It is already at or above the upper boundary. However, it is a breakout setup. In a breakout setup, it is okay to consider stocks that are already at the upper boundary. Relative performance is bullish, outperforming the market, that is S&P 500, and option prices are low. Volatility is low. Percentile is very low. We could consider WDC. Let's look at that. WDC. It has a breakout setup in the daily chart with a bullish flow, high pressure, very high activity. We could read all these signals from the radar itself before even opening the chart. And now we can see in the weekly also it has a breakout condition with a bullish backdrop color, bullish shape. For my test, it is a bit far from the recent low, so I will avoid taking a breakout trade in WDC. Unlike in Micron, unlike in Regeneron breakout possibility, here the recent low is far for my liking. So I'm not going to take a breakout trade. However, if you look at the weekly daily together, the traders who are used to take breakout trades, they may consider taking a breakout, looking at the weekly also breaking out from a range, from a wide range. Not my style, but that is fine. Breakout trades are still valid trades for those who are used to take them. WDC was one. Let's look at Gilead. Let's look at Gilead, the biotech stock. Why I looked at Gilead? Let me explain that. I see there are many bullish signals. When you look here, many bullish signals. In fact, of all these stocks, Gilead has maximum number of bullish signals in this area. These are the signals that are useful for taking trades. Let's say up to, okay, let's say this. What are the signals for Gilead? It also has a breakout, has a possible box setup, go with flow trend following long trade setup with bullish pressure, and a reversal candle. Reversal candles tend to be very bullish in connotation. And I like this kind of stock because this is at price extreme low. Unlike Micron, which was at price extreme high. Both are valid trade setups. You may buy strong stocks at pendulum or price extreme high or 52-week high, or you may buy strong fundamental stocks at price extreme low or pendulum low. Both are possible. I prefer to buy at a lower price. So Gilead is a candidate for me. It is in a downtrend below both the direction lines, yellow and white. That is expected because it is at price extreme low. It is below the lower boundary. We'll have to look at the chart to see what it is saying. Traffic light color is bullish. It is inside a squeeze, Q squeeze. There is a bull release signal which is expected because box setup has several conditions. One of the required conditions is that there should be a bull release signal. Relative performance is showing it is outperforming the market. Option volatility is low. And remember, what are these stocks? These are all stocks with liquid weekly options. That is why the option percentile is also very relevant. These stocks have liquid options. And when volatility is low, option percentile is low, red color or magenta color, it is allowed to buy volatility. Before opening the chart, we could figure out many things. It has a breakout box go with flow setup. It is already at price extreme high, even below lower boundary. Let's look at the chart now. In the daily chart, it has a breakout setup with bullish flow. It created a box setup because price reversed from watermark support with bull release signal and bullish pressure. It is at price extreme or pendulum low, and it has a reversal candle. It has many bullish signals. There is a trendline resistance nearby in the daily as well as in the weekly. On the other hand, weekly displayed a bullish headwind here and again in the current week. Current week's backdrop color flipped from magenta to cyan. There are many bullish signals and I would not mind taking a long position in Xylene. Maybe I will take a smaller position than usual, and if it can break out of the next trend line resistance, I may initiate the another I may buy add to my position, making the position my usual size. Xylene is a buying candidate in my way of trading. It's a strong fundamental stock. All these stocks are strong fundamental stocks. That is one of the criteria for 360-degree trace. We buy only strong fundamental stocks, we short only weak fundamental stocks. So let's stop at the stocks here. What are these stocks? Micron, Xylene, and Regeneron. And I have WDC here. Let's look at WDC also. Did we see WDC earlier? Yes, WDC also we saw. So let me add Xylene, Micron, WDC, and Regeneron. This is my buy candidate, you may say, some of the buy candidates. So I may watch them for proper setup, especially in Regeneron. Now let's check out these stocks industry strength. I'll go back to Cube Vital. Let's look at Micron first. I know that Micron is fundamentally strong. We already saw that. I am still running it through Cube Vital to see the PR strength. Micron has 65 peers, industry peers, and I wanted to see how many of them percentage wise went up on Friday when Micron broke out. That's also a large percentage, 68%. And I already knew Micron has great valuation as well as earnings growth. It is steadily going up over 10 days to 1 day period. The company makes money, earnings per share is positive. Fundamentally it is strong and the PR stocks are also strong. Let's check the industry from Q Edge, which will show the relative strength. And instantly Q Edge shows that the relative strength is strong. So we are allowed to buy Micron. It is fundamentally very strong, giving a breakout trade setup and is in a strong industry. Let's check WDC now. Western Digital Corporation. Maybe WDC.O. It belongs to the technology sector, technology hardware industry. Let's check out the industry while it is calculating the PR scores. Technology, hardware, storage, peripheral. This industry is also very strong. It has acceleration as well, so we are allowed to buy in the industry. Relative strength is strong, and if I look at Q Vital, it has great earnings growth. Valuation is in the middle. That is fine. We are allowed to buy either in terms of growth or valuation. It also has a short squeeze potential, and majority 68% of peer stocks went up on Friday. So WTC is also allowing us to take a 360-degree trade. Next is Regeneron, REGN. It's a biotech stock. Let's look at the industry. Biotech relative strength is not very strong. So if I apply the 360-degree criteria, then Regeneron is not allowing me to buy. However, biotech stocks may move up on their own strength. doesn't have to be because of the industry strength as much as stocks in other industries. Biotechs can and do go up on its own strength. Regeneron is a well-known stock. Knowing that it is in a biotech, I may consider buying even if the industry is weak. Let's look at the vital again. Regeneron, REGN, has excellent valuation, excellent earnings growth in last 3 quarters, last 3 years, positive revenue growth in last 3 quarters, last 3 years. This is very strong fundamental stock. The company makes money, well-known company, Regeneron. And when we look at the peer stocks, all of them, relatively, we saw from QH that biotech is not so strong. QH shows the relative strength. There the scorecard was magenta color. Relatively, it was not strong. But when we look at all the peer stocks, it is not so bearish. It is mixed. 54% of the peer stocks went down, 46% went up on Friday. And this stock is very strong fundamental. So I'm okay to buy it. And the last stock we checked is Gilead. This is also biotech, so I don't need to go to QH again. We already saw relative strength is not so strong for Gilead, for biotech. Let's check out the fundamentals, great fundamentals. Excellent valuation, positive earnings growth in the last quarter. That is great. It is a possible turnaround candidate in terms of earnings growth, robust earnings quality. So we found 4 stocks that are possible buying candidates. Let's look at them again, starting with WDC. We already have WDC here on QLit. This is giving a breakout setup. However, the recent low is some distance away. I may not consider buying it. However, if you look at the weekly chart, it is breaking out in the weekly also. If you use the weekly chart to buy, you could put a stop below the weekly candle's low. And if you are using weekly chart to put stop, you might use weekly chart to decide the initial target, which would be somewhere here. That will still give a respectable risk reward ratio. Not my style of trading, so I will avoid that, but breakout traders may analyze a stock like this in this manner. That was WDC. Then Micron. Micron is giving a breakout setup with a much narrower stop. So I am okay to buy Micron as a breakout setup. We saw its industry was also very strong, and this is one of the stocks where valuation is great and earnings growth is also great. Again, a very well-known stock, Micron. Next, the 2 biotechs, Regeneron has excellent support in weekly, bullish headwind in daily. However, 2 trendline resistances are there. I may wait for price to go through these resistance lines. That will still allow me to take a low risk trade. Again, Regeneron is a well-known stock, strong fundamental also. Lastly, Gilead, GILD. Biotech already broke out of one trend line resistance, has 2 bullish headwinds in weekly, has a box setup in daily, plus a breakout setup. Though there is a trend line resistance, I am okay to consider buying it. And because it is a biotech with great fundamentals, this is one stock I may consider buying even before the Georgia Senate result is known. It is at a low price point, also having a reversal candle on Friday. If tomorrow price continues to go up, I may consider buying Gilead. And again, these stocks I found from list of stocks with weekly options, liquid weekly options. So one way to buy the stock could be using options verticals. I demonstrated that approach earlier. Let's look at that again. GILD. If I go back to the chart, there are trendline resistances. It may falter at one of those resistances and then go up again. If I think like that, and I know there is a trendline resistance in weekly also, if I think like that, then I may give my options position longer time. Instead of taking 45 days to expiry or 30 days, I may consider taking 60 or 90 days to expiry. Now, if I do that, I may sell the volatility. Let's look at a possible option structure. Let's look at, okay, let's see when is the earnings date for GILD. 2nd February. So I would like to take an option position that expires before 2nd February. If my option position expires after 2nd February, then I am going to take the earnings uncertainty in my trade that I don't want. Also the vertical trade, or even yes, the vertical trade, naked options would be different, but vertical trade may not expand in profit quickly if earnings is inside the expiry date. So instead I would like to take our expiry before 2nd February. Before 2nd February. So then I have to take 29th Jan expiry. Okay. I am not able to take an expiry of 60 days, 90 days because earnings period is coming before that. That's fine. Let's stick with the 27 days to expiry, that is 29th January expiry. And I am thinking that price will at least stay at the current price. Even if it goes down a little bit, it will recover and come back to the current price. And thinking like that, I am going to sell put options. So the current price is 58.02, is at the money 58. So I'm going to sell 58 or even maybe 58.5, slightly out of the money put. Okay. Okay, one thing you may note that currently the market is closed and the bid ask spread is very wide. It is showing 1.83 bid, 2.78 ask. I think it will not be so wide in the market hours, regular hours. If it is so wide, of course, I am not going to take any option trade in the instrument, but I doubt it. I think market hours it will be less. For now, I will have to use the mid price to see how the PNL graph is looking like. So I'm going to sell this 58.5 in the money put. Let's say I get mid price. Mid price is 230. 230. So I'm going to buy back another option which is going to give me half of that, or cost half of that, so which will be 57 strike. So let's choose these two and analyze the trade. Mid price at mid price. This is the trade. The maximum loss is going to happen at expiry, that is $73 loss, maximum loss if the stock goes down, and maximum profit is going to be $77 if the stock goes up. That is giving me a 1:1 reward risk ratio. Maximum profit minus 77 and maximum loss minus 73. So slightly better than 1:1 reward risk ratio considering the mid price. This is the kind of vertical that are that is simulating the stock trading reward risk ratio. That is the basis of Q trading philosophy, that is 1:1 reward risk ratio. The advantage is that we don't have to worry about getting stopped out. If I go back to the stock chart, even if the stock reverses from this trendline resistance or from the second trendline resistance, maybe meanders around up down, so long as by expiry it goes up even little bit, we'll end up with a profit, and the reward risk ratio is attractive. If I had a longer term duration possible, I would have taken that, but because the earnings is coming on 2nd February, I didn't want to create a vertical trade that is expiring after earnings. Otherwise, I would have preferred taking a 60-day to expiry vertical in this case. In any case, this kind of verticals offer attractive reward risk ratio, and I may not mind taking a position in Xylit on Monday. Of course, you may decide for yourself using your own technique. I'm just demonstrating how I look at stocks. These are not for trading advice. In any case, that was a demonstration of the fundamental first approach. I started with the list of stocks with liquid weekly options, looked at their fundamental scorecard, found fundamentally strong stocks using the single click action buttons 3-star and or 1-star, check them out using Q technical charts using Q Global or Q Elite, and finally looked at their industry relative strength using Q Edge. And I found several buying candidates. Once again, because of the Georgia Senate election on Tuesday, I'm not going to take many new trades. Xylit may be an exception. I'll keep an eye on Xylit on Monday using fine-tuned chart, but I'm not going to take many trades. Neither do I suggest taking many trades before the Senate election result is known. We are at the 1 hour time. The market is continuing to be bullish. We'll see how the market acts after the Senate result is out. We'll have the Wednesday webinar at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday 8 a.m. Let's see if the Senate result is out by them and how the futures react to that. Let's end today's session here. Thanks a lot for joining. I look forward to seeing you again in our next session on Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Trade profitably, keep safe, and once again, wish you a very happy and prosperous new year. Thank you.